we have Michael Perkins from Lebanon, Tennessee. I can say
Lebanon now.
Isn't that awesome?
It is awesome.
I'm so excited you guys are
Us
here.
too.
You know,
us too. It's just it doesn't seem real sometimes.
I know. And you just got here. How long you been in Lebanon now?
Like a month.
A month.
A month.
Yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
a month. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, Michael is joining us here at the Lebanon House of Prayer, and I wanted to talk to Michael. We're going to have a couple series of podcasts. I wanted to talk to Michael about the Song of Solomon, okay? There's very few people who are in the Song of Solomon or have studied the Song of Solomon, and he is actually one of them, okay? I studied a little bit. Actually, you came 3 years ago? It might have been two and a half years ago.
2.5, yeah.
And he did a class on the Song of Solomon. It's one of the most powerful classes ever. And that kind of sparked an interest in me. And so I started studying the Song of Solomon. And so not many people have studied it. And so I just wanted to chat a little bit about the Song of Songs or the Song of Solomon. Which one you prefer, Song of Songs or Song of Solomon?
I like Song of Songs because it means it's the greatest song that was ever written.
Ooh.
And so that's why I prefer that.
That's what you prefer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're diving in to the Song of Songs. Give us a big chat, like big overview of Song of Songs. Why do you love it?
Well, I love it because Jesus said that all the scriptures point to him.
Yeah.
And so I think he said that in John 5.
Yeah.
And so if all the scriptures point to him, I think you can look at Song of Songs and look at it from the point of view that Jesus is writing a letter to his bride or to his church. And it takes you through the process of really introduction to courtship or engagement.
Yeah.
And to marriage, to even mature marriage or a mature relationship. So it really kind of walks you through that entire process between a man and his bride. And again, I think you can look at it from the point of view of the bride of Christ with our bridegroom king.
Oh, that's so good. So you would say that we're looking at this, it's three main characters or several characters in the Song of Songs, right?
Yeah.
They're the shepherd king or the bridegroom king. I can't remember how it describes it.
Yeah.
We got the Shulamite woman.
Yeah.
Right. And then we got the daughters of Jerusalem.
You got the daughters of Jerusalem, and then you have the watchmen, and they're mentioned as well.
Yeah.
So that's like the fourth.
That's
but they're
kind
not
of
like the good watchmen.
No, they're not.
They actually, I believe, represent the religious spirit in this story.
That's so good.
And
and that's what was that chapter 4, 5?
4 and 5. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a good thing.
They end up like striking her and wounding her and trying to take away her ability to even like reproduce.
Wow.
And remove their covering from her as well.
Wow.
So, but
that's a powerful.
Yeah.
That's a powerful part of the Song of Songs that she's journeying. She's trying to find her lover, right? She wakes up, her lover is gone, and so she's looking for her lover. She goes into the city.
Yeah.
And it says the watchmen are there.
Yeah.
And they actually beat her.
They
right?
actually beat her.
Beat her to tar. Now, what's her response? I love her response. Tell us her response.
But she ends up just leaving.
Yeah.
The moment she leaves her presence, she just gets up, leaves her presence, and she finds him immediately.
And that's so good.
Yeah.
And that's so good.
So like a lot of people are looking for Jesus in these religious dry settings, and you're never going to find him.
You're never going to find
him.
him.
And the moment you exit that setting, you're going to run into him.
You're going to run into him. And the watchmen there, and I think they're in there twice, right?
Yeah.
They're the first time they're good, right? They're trying to help her find Jesus, right? Yeah. But in the second time, they beat the tar out of her. And I loved her response. She looks at the daughters of Jerusalem and says, I've been beaten, right? But don't worry. Tell my lover I've been pierced by love.
That's good.
Right? So she's actually like, listen, I'm so in love with Jesus. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if people beat me. It doesn't matter, right? They remove their covering. Yeah. So instead of, and I think it's a sign of the maturing of the covenant love between the bride and the groom, right? Because instead of getting offended or hurt or be like, well, they beat me up or whatever, or this church or that church, whatever, she said, listen, I'm so in love with you. I've been pierced by love.
That's so good.
I've been pierced by the King. So this is a great book.
It is.
It really is.
It is by far my favorite book of the Bible.
So what version I think you do NASB, right? That's the version you studied it out of.
Yeah.
I've done the Passion Translation, which has really helped me.
Yeah.
Just because when you walk through the Song of Solomon, it can be hard to understand, especially in the King James Version or even the NIV.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Sheep, white teeth? Like, what's going on here? Right. Right. You know, so tell us the NASB, why you like that version, and just tell us some highlights out of that.
So I like the NASB, and like, I'm not a scholar by any means,
right?
But I had heard that it was the most accurate word for word translation.
Yeah.
And then what did it for me was actually Isaiah 6.
Okay.
Isaiah 6, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, and the train of his robe was filling the temple. The NIV says, and the train of his robe filled the temple, meaning like it was past tense, it was done. Yeah. But in the NASB, it says filling, meaning it's present tense, it's ongoing. Yeah. And that really, I'm off track, but that's
okay. Go for it.
During that time, when the kings would go off to war and they would win a battle, they would remove a piece of the other king's robe and attach it to their robe every time they won a victory. So when you would see a king on his throne, you would see the different pieces of robes on his robe. Wow. So when you read Isaiah 6 and the train of his robe was filling the temple, it insinuates that we have a king that's continuing to win victory after victory after victory. And and then you look at the NIV and it's just like he's done winning victories. Wow. When you look at it from the past tense. Yeah. And so that's what did it for me with the NASB. Yeah. And I'm sure and I know others have their preferences. Yeah. Now to study Song of Songs, I did the NASB, and I use the Passion a lot to help differentiate the flow of conversation when I was really, really studying it.
Yeah. And so that's really good. And I love what you said there, because the NASB is going to be more of a word for word translation, because we don't know the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, the New Testament is written in Greek. So it's really going to try to key in on those words. The Passion Translation is going to be more of a story translation, right? That even adds a couple things that maybe you may not find in the NASB or in the NIV, but to help the logic of the story, or kind of help understand the story, right?
Exactly.
And as I've read through the Passion Translation, I've been impressed, because even the stuff they've added, he's done a really good job of just going back into the Hebrew and saying, this is what that Hebrew word means. Yeah. And there's a lot in Song of Solomon, there is a ton of linking, like one word and one word, they're linked together. Yeah. And it's kind of like this, just back and forth between these two words. Yeah. Right.
Well, Simmons's footnotes are worth the cost of the Bible anyway.
Right there. They're good, aren't they?
They're just that good.
Yeah, because I have to look at Blue Letter Bible, or you have to have Logos or something to look at the original language and find the definitions. And so these footnotes line right up with Blue Letter Bible and stuff. And so I know some people don't like it, and it's okay if it's a preference, whatever. But it really helps me understand. Me too. Right? The Passion helps me understand. And then I love the NASB. So here's the Song of Songs, right? Jesus it's a picture of the bride. Yeah. We being the bride, right? What do you think the daughters of Jerusalem represent? What would that?
I think the daughters of Jerusalem represent other believers that aren't quite as mature. Okay. And so they're like, we're hungry. Yeah. Tell us how to grow closer to the one that you love. Yeah. So I would picture it. And in the kingdom, there's always someone that's closer to the Lord than you are.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think that's what the daughters of Jerusalem, they're believers that want to be able to get into the bridegroom king's presence. And they're asking the one that they believe knows the key to get in. They're asking, how do we get into the area that you're into?
Oh, I love that. Okay, so you studied the whole book, all 8 chapters. Give me your favorite passage or favorite verses or verse out of it, and just share with us.
So there's 2.
Okay. Give us 2.
1:4. Okay. 1:4 says, "Draw me after you and let us run together."
Yes.
And so this is the Shulamite bride saying, "Draw me after you and let's run our lives together." And to me, that's the one prayer that the Lord always wants to answer, is that prayer of hunger and that prayer of I want to run with you, God. Mm-hmm. He's always going to give you the opportunity to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's my favorite one. And the second, I say second. Yeah. Second favorite is an 8:5. Yeah. Which says this, who is this coming up out of the wilderness, leaning upon her beloved? Wow. And to me in particular, like I preached that verse for the last few years, but I really feel like the last year is me actually learning to live that one out.
Right.
And coming out of a wilderness season, leaning on Him. So those are my two favorites.
That's so good. That's so good. The one I haven't got to chapter 8. I'm somewhere in the end of chapter 1. I've been going like almost verse by verse. So, but chapter 1, that word draw literally has the idea of an impeller.
Yeah.
Right. And it has, like, for those of you who don't know, an impeller, which I had to actually look this up. Like, right, the water gets sucked in, but it actually, when it gets sucked in, it propels. So it uses, it's like, that's what an impeller does. It sucks in water, and then it propels and it pushes you. And so the love of the bridegroom king is sucking. It's like Jesus is sucking us in to this chamber, right?
Yeah.
And that is so powerful.
It is.
It's so powerful. His love for us, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Oh, so tell me the one of the craziest things that you find in Song of Songs, like one of the wildest things. You're like, oh man, like I read this, and I was like, wow, I was taken back by this.
Well, it's so like in like chapter 1, for instance, you know, she prays that prayer, and then she immediately begins to recoil. And she recoils and she says, I'm black and I'm swarthy. So she's saying, like, I want to be near you, but I can't be near you because I'm not qualified to be near you.
Wow.
And so, like, I was so struck by that, that dichotomy of, like, how many people have said, I want to be close to you, God.
Right.
But then when they really start to go after him, like, I really don't want you looking at me because you're going to see the parts of me that you're not going to like.
Wow.
And she actually even says, like, the things that's wrong with her isn't even her fault because it was her brothers that made her, like, tend these fields, you know, take care of. So she was taking care of other people's responsibilities. And there's a lot of people that's had things happen to them, things done to them that's not their fault, whether they were abused, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they don't feel worthy to be in God's presence.
Wow. And
he says, and this is what got me, is he says, oh no, most beautiful among women. So he's like, I don't see what you see.
Wow.
He says, this is what I see. You're the most beautiful one.
Yeah.
You're and I think he actually says most beautiful one and my dearest. And so he's saying you're the most important, you're the most special thing I've ever seen. Despite what you have been through, that does not define you. And so to me, like in my own call in particular, I feel like I'm called to get people to get past that.
Yes.
And for them to begin to see themselves the way that he sees them. And the phrase we use is beloved identity. Like the most important thing about me is this idea that he calls me beloved. Wow. And so to me, that was like the holy smokes, I can't believe that's in here. Right. And I can so relate to this. Yes. Because I know all the junk I did before Jesus. Right. I know all the things I've said or thought. Yeah. And occasionally that comes to mind when I enter into his presence or when I begin to pray or worship on my own. You start thinking of those things. And I'm like, whoa, that's not what he's thinking or seeing right now. Wow. So
that is so important to the body of Christ, right?
It is.
It really is.
It is.
Because, you know, if we can't get through chapter 1, because I've seen the Song of Solomon build, right? Like it builds chapter 2 and then chapter 3 and chapter 4 and chapter 5, and there's a maturing. Yeah. But we got to understand who we are and how he sees us. Like he doesn't see us the way we think he sees us.
Exactly.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's very, I think most people think God's very legalistic.
Oh man, I know. I know.
He's not.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not all. Only thing he sees is his son.
Yeah.
His beloved identity.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I got stuck there for weeks on the worthless. Like she felt worthless. Yeah. And it literally was trauma from someone else.
Yes.
And what they had done to her.
That's a good word, trauma.
You know, but King looks at her and says, no, that's not how I see you. Yeah. You are the most beloved. Yeah. And if we could get that, like our identity is not shaped on what we've done or what we're doing. Our identity is shaped on Jesus and who he is. And as we get into him, we take his identity.
That's it.
We're the beloved. We are the beloved. So that's probably the whole Song of Songs, right?
It is.
It really is.
It's him like convincing her, like, this is who you are.
You're the beloved.
Yeah. And it's fascinating too when you look at like the New Testament. Yeah. So like the very first thing the Father spoke over Jesus right after he was baptized is This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. That was the start of his ministry.
Yeah.
And at the end of his ministry on the Mount of Transfiguration, he says the exact same thing.
That's so good.
So this is my beloved son in whom well pleased.
Yeah.
Listen to him. That time he says, listen to him.
Yeah.
So before Jesus did anything, he said, you're beloved. And after he had accomplished what he said he was going to accomplish, you know, and of course he still had to go on to the crucifixion and raise from the dead. But the Father said, you're beloved. Like that supersedes anything. And that's how I see you before you ever do anything for me.
Wow.
And so that changes, that should change the way we do ministry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because then I do ministry out of a posture of love as opposed to trying to earn his approval.
Yes. That's so good. Oh, that's so good. That's so good, right? Like if we could get that, like, right? Ministry is not something I do. Ministry is who I am, right?
Yes,
because I'm the beloved.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the beloved. So I can't help but do ministry because I'm inviting people to experience the love of Jesus.
That's it.
Right? And the bridegroom king and his love for us.
That's it.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
This has been the Song of Solomon. This has just been our first, like, just kind of teaser of Song of Solomon. Now you and your wife, April, have 2 kids, right? Mm-hmm. Ethan and Wonder. Yeah. You've moved to Lebanon, Tennessee. You've started your nonprofit. Tell us a little bit about the nonprofit, what your heart is, what you're reaching out to.
Our nonprofit is called Firebrands Global.
Okay.
And like we feel called to, like I guess the phrase is, we feel called to raise up a generation of burning ones.
Burning ones. I love that.
That's out of Isaiah 6 as well.
Yeah,
the seraphim, they were burning ones. All they did was worship and worship and worship and devotion. Yeah. And their devotion and worship actually caused conviction amongst the prophet of God.
Wow.
And so we feel called to raise up people that just are fully on fire for the Lord. And
that's so good.
And so yeah.
So, and you're doing some traveling, like how are you guys doing that? Like, what's that look like?
A couple of ways. So we're traveling a few times a month, 2 to 3 weekends a month. We're on the road, going to churches that are at least have a hungry pastor.
Right.
And we're just going there and hopefully facilitating an environment where someone can have an encounter with the Lord. Like that's what I feel like we're called to do is just host that atmosphere, that environment, so someone can come into his presence and maybe, just maybe, the trajectory of their life will be changed forever. And we have other things in pipeline, working on some books, some things like that as well. But that'll be on down the road.
It'll be down the road,
about 6-7 months from now. But
that's so
that's
good.
what we're doing.
And that's God's call.
That's God's call in our life.
Oh, man.
So.
Well, dude, it is such an honor to have you and April here in town with us, and your kids, Ethan. He's been drumming, and we've enjoyed having him.
Yeah.
And it's just a blessing. It's a blessing to have you guys in town.
Yeah.
And our extra time is up, believe it or not.
How about that?
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
The 20 minutes goes real quick.
It does go real quick.
So thanks, everybody, for joining us for our podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right. Well, isn't that awesome?
That was great.